one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering community for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast, the podcast where we delve into those salty mines of the Magic the Gathering community, find the saltiest stories, the saltiest posts, put them in our mine cart, and bring them right back up to you, our dear prospectors at home. As always, I'm your host, Sam, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Mike and Tony. Say hey, guys.
What up?
Hello. And we're also joined by our mythical fourth pod member, Nick. Say hey, Nick.
Hello, boys. I'm back.
Wow, you didn't say hey, Nick. I can't believe it.
I was in an Independence Day mood.
Some sacrifices needed to be made in order to get that line in an episode at some point.
But before we go any further, you know we got to shout them out. Our nice tier patrons. And this week we have Accidental TPK, Alex Ballix, Crean Bean, Prime Speaker Florian, Dr. Black, and Z. Thanks for being so nice. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Woo!
So I'm going to throw our typical disclaimer up front. If this is your first episode of Howling Salt Mine that you've ever listened to, this one's going to be a little different because we are recapping our time at MagicCon Las Vegas. This isn't your typical episode. If you want a taste of our typical episode, jump to one of the other ones. Maybe start with a guest episode. Ooh, that's pretty fun. Your favorite magic creator in a guest episode. What a great way to be introduced to the show. This is a little different. We're going to be going day by day.
Because that's very standard to our typical format.
Well, that's a great like entryway, Tony. You know,
The gateway drug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the gateway drug. You're like, wow, I really like Covert Go Blue. I'll listen to their episode with Covert Go Blue, and then you're like, man, these guys are charming and they tell funny jokes. And I like the way that they cuss sometimes. I think that's funny.
They say fun words that I'm not allowed to say at school.
Yeah, they say the cool grown-up words.
Push boundaries.
Exactly. So this episode's going to be different because we're going to be going day by day through our experience at the recent MagicCon in Las Vegas. Should we just jump into it, guys? Should we just
do it?
Rip it?
Fuck yeah. Let's do it.
Well, I think we could start off by saying this is our most jam-packed convention ever.
Absolutely.
I guess we'll kick it off with a little thank you to Papa Watsy for inviting us as creators. Well, approving our creator applications.
Yeah.
Which I do appreciate. Like that's fucking sick to be able to come to this convention as a creator. You know, we had a lot of events that we were involved with. We'll get to it, but Mike had an event on the main stage with a bunch of other creators. That was really fun. We got to do our first live episode, which was fucking crazy. I had an art panel that I did that was really, really fun with a bunch of other magic artists and doodlers and stuff out there. And what else? What the fuck else do we do?
Played a lot of games.
We did. Played a lot of Magic.
And we played a lot of Magic. Oh, and we had the cEDH Learn to Play event that was really fun. Yeah. And we played a fuck ton of Magic. We did play so much Magic.
Not enough somehow.
Not enough. Mike, throughout the weekend, was always wanting to put spells in the stack, even if there were nowhere near any Magic cards at the time.
And then I got home and I went an entire 72 hours without putting any spells or abilities on the stack. Ooh, I barely made it.
Was that because you were goldfishing your morph deck and it doesn't use the stack?
Ooh. Oh, I goldfished, but it doesn't count. If something goes on the stack and no one's there to see it, does it really?
Priority just passes, baby.
Yeah,
priority does just pass in that scenario.
I've also just been goldfishing for the last few days, which is also funny. I've been in like a big goldfishing mode.
I've just been buying cards, baby.
Oh, no.
So it's just a regular day for Tony.
Nothing's changed for Tony.
Nothing's changed.
I've read some primers. Does that count?
That does count. That's great, man. That's growth right there.
That's progress. That's growth.
I fucking try. I love this for you.
I love this for you. Well, let's get into it. I will say no Vegas trip is right without the first stop once you land. You get to your Airbnb and then you're like, you know what? We got to go to fucking Nacho Daddy.
Nacho Daddy.
Nacho fucking Daddy, baby.
It's funny because we went there the first time we went to Vegas, and low key, kind of great. It's definitely
it was
just a
good.
chain. It's just like a thing, but like you walk right in, you get your mogs, you get your fucking shots.
Your what now, Tony? Your mogs? Is that like mogging?
Margs,
trying to say margs.
Bro. Your margs. Settle
Yeah,
down.
mogs.
I'm aware.
Mags.
I'm aware.
You wicked piss of Mags.
Mag.
I don't love tequila, and one of the first things
It's weird that you kept asking for the shots, though.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally
it is
fuck you
weird
all.
that you kept asking
because
for those.
the first thing that Michael does is like shots, and I'm like, I don't like it, and he's like, come on, and I'm like, all right. And
That
Sam
wasn't
on
me.
the
This
side
sounds,
trying to be
this sounds like
no.
a misleading story.
Tony put
yeah.
up a Sam level of resistance to the peer pressure where he was like, nah, I don't want to. And Mike was like, well, I'm going to order one. He was like, okay, I guess so. You've twisted my arm.
I think there was more than one push, but you, on the other hand, were like, no, I'm not doing it. We ordered them, and you're like, no, actually, I'm going to do it now. And then
Well, once I heard they had mezcal shots, I was like, I'll fucking
Like,
do
let's
some
fucking
mezcal, dude.
go.
Like, mezcal's good.
yeah, a couple pitchers, couple of
Couple pitchers
got a
of bad beer.
ginormous chimichanga. Like,
I'm sorry, what?
a chimichanga.
Oh, what?
Give me a
to go with his
chimmy.
mag.
To go with my mag.
Mag
Who's
and
Jimmy
chimichanga.
Changa?
That's what I'm
Hey,
fucking
guy,
getting,
give me a
bro.
chimichanga.
Exactly. But it was great. And then a couple of patrons came.
Yeah, we met up with some patrons. We got to meet up with Flood, Beat, Crean Bean, Prime Speaker Florian,
And Florian's friend.
Florian's friend.
and Florian's friend, whose name I don't remember. I
Yeah.
am sorry. That's going to be a theme. There's a lot of names I didn't remember this weekend, man.
Yeah,
There's a
for real.
big theme with being Sam and people being like, hey, my name's Derek. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, oh, in the Discord, I'm blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What's up,
I was saying, there's a
dude?
huge theme of that. People being like, this is my real name.
I'm like,
And then
huh?
I'm just like, cool. And then much later on, I'm like, oh, you're this person?
Oh, you're this person? What's up, dude? Let's vibe. Like,
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, we talk daily.
yeah. Oh, we have an existing relationship. I thought you were just random dude at the con.
I will say the last thing is that Beat won a bet with me. So I owed him a drink. And so wound up at the end of the night getting another shot. This one with a scorpion in it because
Gross.
Vegas, like, why not, I guess?
Yeah.
And the main thing I have to say about this is 2 shots, a pitcher of beer, not by myself, like share with people, 2 pitchers
Yeah.
of beer, and a long flight leads to a drunken Tony. And we got back to the Airbnb, and man, was my head spinning. I got the spins when I laid down, and it was unpleasant.
Yeah,
Terrible.
it's the worst. Those are the pains of growing up.
Yeah, for real.
So anyway, we woke up bright and early.
Yeah.
We literally
Did,
did.
we had to.
On to Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we woke up super early and we got to the convention, and it was the classic thing. If people remember our MTG Summit episode from last year, Nick even said it in the moment. He was like, we're doing what I did at Summit. It was the classic thing where for some reason the Uber driver delivered us to like the backside of the building.
Yeah.
And we had to walk like a mile around this big
An
fucking
entire
building.
convention hall.
Yeah. And thankfully we weren't the only ones. Like we bumped into Paul, Is It Punk along the way and a bunch of other people. But it was a fucking hike. It was a hike to get to the front.
Yeah, but you follow the stream of nerds.
So we get there and we're freshly sweaty, or at least I was. And I was wearing my hoodie for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So by the time I got there, I was like, oh, I'm sweating so bad.
Moist.
It's awful. Yeah.
Yeah. The right way to start a Magic convention.
Yeah.
For sure.
Slick with moisture.
So that you can slip right on in, you know?
Exactly. So you can slip into a pod. So we walk in. This is a funny thing because Tony made some joke, or somebody made some joke about having like a special line that we could like cut the line. And we did have a special line, and that was special. It was great.
Yeah.
It was
You
like,
guys did
ooh.
a special.
Yeah, we did briefly have to abandon Nick and Andrew.
Oh yeah, Andrew
Nick
Roth.
and Rothbox.
Andrew Rothbach's our other partner in crime all weekend.
But it literally didn't matter because Andrew and Nick basically got to the front by the
Yeah,
time
the lines were like
that
surprisingly
we got
Yeah.
off.
the
So
same
like
pace.
having
Yeah.
a special line didn't help. But let it be known.
well, we walked less.
Turns out when you've got like 10 people checking, yeah, we did walk less in that moment. We've got 10 people checking in. That's faster than one person checking in, you know, a singular line.
So then we move into the main hall, and
Holding pens.
yeah, these are like holding pens. Like the hall isn't open yet, but they're letting people in. You could get in the line for your like MagicCon merch if you wanted, but most of the people were in these kind of like cordoned off rows, and they were just jamming as many people in. And then once like the hall officially opened, they would open up one row, everybody would clear out. They'd open up the next one.
That was definitely the sweatiest I was that weekend.
Same. Yeah, that was peak sweat.
Yeah.
But that was really fun. We bumped into our friend Billy. A couple people said hi to us, which felt cool. We were like, oh, like it's beginning.
We ran into Ian and Lua, which was very relieving because we were worried we were going to be late to the event that they were running.
Yeah, the event that Lua was organizing.
Yeah. And then they showed up in the line right after us.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, nice. We can't be that late then.
So we finally get in, and this convention is massive. Like,
yes.
Thankfully so.
Yeah, thankfully so.
Yeah. In a good way.
In Chicago, we talked about how the space wasn't big enough. You know, I think everybody will admit that the space just wasn't large enough, not enough free play space. In Vegas 2 years ago, because we haven't been there since 2022, that was the first Magic 30 event. Space was also at a premium then. It was really hard to find tables. And, you know, it's kind of the Wizards' first big convention in a while. So, you know, the training wheels were still on. At this point, Wizards has done 3 conventions in Vegas. It's like a pretty well-oiled machine. The space is massive. I would say it was maybe 3 times the size of the original Vegas convention and maybe 3 times the size of Chicago, if not slightly bigger than that. It was wild how big it was. I would say a space comparable to the size of the Chicago convention is just like vendors. And then there's a space behind that is all of like the competitions and events and stuff like that. And then there's a whole space upstairs that's just like another full convention hall size.
At first I was thinking you were crazy, but then I realized like the entire like event space I never went into.
Yeah,
I never went there. And there was a huge space that was dedicated to that.
And that extended the entire length of the top floor.
Yeah.
For sure. It's crazy.
They'd also learned some really good lessons around the layout of things. So like the main stage where they were doing like spoilers and stuff and everything, that was very far away from the competitive events, essentially as far as possible from the competitive events, which was like excellent, you know.
On a whole nother
complaint from
for a lot of the events.
Yeah, on a whole nother floor. Yeah. And then, but it was like also right near the creator space, which was great because like, you know, you can chat with the creator while someone's cheering about a spoiler right next to you. And that doesn't like mess with you the same way it does when you're one life trying to figure out some combat damage.
Yeah, when you're tanking.
It's kind of like, I don't know, like spoiler alert. It was fucking great. I'm so glad to say I don't have any complaints. Like I literally think actually everything was great. There was never a moment in the weekend when I was like, I wish they did this different.
Same.
Yeah.
It was such a pleasant surprise. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. So it was fucking lit. So if you didn't go, sorry.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. It was fucking amazing. And we had the time of our lives. And I wish I could just replay that weekend. It was fucking awesome.
I will say the first thing we did when we got in was there was like nobody at the artist yet,
best, dude.
Because
doors had
just fucking opened, right? And so it was like the time.
Things were a little lighter on the Friday also, as a whole, I would say.
But so immediately I just like hopped in some lines to get some signatures. Not as many as our dear Samuel, but I did get my Esper Sentinel signed, which felt like fun. You want to talk about your extravaganza sale?
I do, yeah. So Tyler Jacobson was there, and Tyler Jacobson is the artist that does Marath. So obviously, I brought a bunch of copies of Marath Will of the Wild to get signed. I had been like talking with people in the Marath Discord and letting them know that I was going to be at this convention. So I have like 5 or 6 that I'm going to be like mailing out to other Marath pilots in the Discord. So it was kind of this thing where I was like, I'm going to bring not like a crazy amount, not as many as I could bring, but like a reasonable amount. Like I brought 10. I got 10 Marath signed.
It's more reasonable knowing that you're going to mail them out to people because I literally thought you got them just to have them.
I mean, I am still going to keep like 5. Like,
that's fine. But like... When you had 10, you were getting fucking signed. Like 10 cards doesn't sound like that much, folks, until you lay out 10 cards somewhere and you're like, holy shit.
Until you have to carry 10 cards that have wet ink across the convention hall.
It's not
then you're like, oh, 10 cards person. Is a lot. Yeah. Thankfully, Tony came over at this point, but
we both filled our hands with your Maraths and walked to the cEDH play event.
Yeah.
Why can't I hold all these Maraths?
That was a really cool moment because I just got to like chat with Tyler Jacobson and be like, I'm one of the biggest fans of this card. Like, it's my favorite commander. I have this Discord where we all just love it. We all play it.
I'm the moderator for Marath Discord.
Literally. And he was like, that's really cool, man. I was like,
it came up naturally.
No, I was forcing it into the conversation. And he was like, that's so cool. And I showed him all the altars of Marath that I already had. And he was like, holy shit, like these are awesome. Like, it's just a really cool moment. And we talked about it a little bit. And he was like, it's one of my earlier Magic cards that I did. And I think he said that they kind of let him do what he wanted. And he basically was like, I'm going to do the Spirit of the Forest from Princess Mononoke as like a Magic card, more or less.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about this in a recent episode. That like is what it is. So it's really cool to have that confirmed by him. And then he was like, this is the most of a single card I've ever been asked to sign. So we grab all of our cards. At this point, Mike is texting us and he's like, where are you guys?
Yeah. As we will notice as a theme, I was ready to cast spells and put abilities on this deck. So I'd gone essentially, I'd been like, art is cool, but so I'd gone essentially straight to the cEDH event to start getting ready to play games.
First of all, before we jump into that event, I just want to say that like Lua did such a fucking good job, and all the other cEDH creators did such an amazing job with that event. Like, people were jamming games all day. People were so excited to learn how to play cEDH, to practice with a bunch of different decks that were there. Like, they had, I don't know, maybe 10 or more different decks that people could borrow and kind of sign out and test drive and then bring back. People were excited to play with us, with other creators. And there was pretty much all of like the major cEDH creators you can think of were there, like Play to Win, Playing with Power. That's a Good Card podcast was jamming.
Howling Salt Mine,
Howling Salt Mine,
Am I right?
Comedian MTG, Mental Misplay. The list goes on and on and on. Spike Feeders, all those guys. You can check it out online and see. The list was like massive. While we were planning for it, more and more people kept jumping in. And Louis just had to keep having the graphic remade because more and more logos kept getting added.
Oops.
So by the end, it was like 20 different creators, maybe even more. It was crazy. Like, so many cEDH creators. So we took the first shift and we were spread across 2 tables. Mike got there early, so he paired up with Ian. And then Tony and I got there and we grabbed a table.
Yeah.
Basically, we played a buckload of cEDH games and it was great.
Yeah. I feel like the most interesting thing I saw happen was a Trinisphere get played and then both a Roaming Throne and a Zorn be in play for a Magda deck. So anytime a dwarf was tapped, Ian was getting 4 treasures off of it.
Damn.
Because it would trigger twice and then both triggers would make 2 treasures.
Oh, my God,
that was ridiculous.
Nuts.
And then there was also a moment where I learned how insane big Atali is with Bergie.
Both big.
Because you get a red off of casting Atali, and then you get a red off of all 4 of the spells that you cast. So you play Atali with Bergie out, and you get 5 mana.
Oh, that's just crazy. That's so good.
So a lot of my games were me sitting there watching Ian do just completely bonkers stuff. So I had a front row seat right before him in priority to watch like all the most ridiculous stuff happen. So I had an absolute blast. I was super happy to get a bunch of games in with Ian. I only tried to take illegal game actions like once a game. So that was pretty fine.
How illegal were those game actions? Like, what were you
pretty
doing?
Illegal in a couple cases. One that looked like I was just cheating because I miscounted mana. So pretty solid showing. I kept having to joke that I was playing the Learn to Play cEDH event.
Yeah, you basically just got like a free lesson with Ian.
Yeah, I got a free, like 3-hour course. I should honestly pay Ian.
He's like, dude, actually count your mana correctly.
No, it was someone we were playing against that had to call me on anything too.
See,
like,
but that's a
worse.
test. That's a test.
Yeah.
Are you paying attention?
Yeah.
You know,
you passed. Haha. Well done, young grasshopper. So, what about you guys? You guys had some good games?
Yeah, so Tony and I managed to play 4 games, which was fucking awesome. And it was pretty much all with patrons.
That's awesome.
A shit ton of people came through. Like Captain Cross came through. We played a game with Florian. We played a game with Saratna Sequoia. We played a game with Renshai. A handful of other folks were coming through. I think the most memorable game was actually the first one that we played. We played a game with somebody, and I forget their real human name, so I'm going to say their Moxfield name. I apologize. Again, refer to that thing I said earlier about remembering the Discord names and not the real people names. Their name was Jay Sarmi, and they played this Raw Monsoon Mage list, and holy fuck, that deck blew my mind. Like, we were playing, and Tony played Ob Nixilis the whole time. I played Marath the whole time, which was really fun. So many times people would sit down and we'd look around, and this is kind of a theme of the weekend. Whenever I played cEDH with Tony, we'd look around and we'd be like, no blue decks. So that just kept happening. Or we'd be like 1 or 2 blue decks.
Crazy how when half the pod isn't playing blue, the chance of it being Hassan's blue pod goes way up.
Yeah, exactly. So this dude sat down with this Ral deck, and we had never seen this commander before. I'm just going to read it just because I'm so obsessed with this right now. Like, this is what I was talking about earlier when I've been gold fishing. So Ral Monsoon Mage costs 1 and a red. It's one of the new flip walkers from Modern Horizons 3. Legendary creature, wizard, human. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Already pretty amazing. Great cost reduction. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell during your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Ral Monsoon Mage deals 1 damage to you. Not great because it does feed Ob.
Oh, yeah, it does.
If you win the flip, you may exile Ral, and if you do, you return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. Again, it's a flip walker. So if you flip to the other side, it's Ral Leyline Prodigy, and it has 3 loyalty abilities, comes in with 2 loyalty to start. Ral enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on him for each instant and sorcery spell that you've cast this turn. And the +1 doesn't matter. The -2 doesn't matter. The -8 is what matters. Exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may cast instant and sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying their mana cost.
Oof.
So the whole deck is landing Ral, storming to 6, and then once you hit 6, you're trying to get heads on the coin flip so that you can flip it. Like, best case scenario is you get heads on right on 6, you flip it with 8, rip down that -8, and he dies. And the reason why that's the best is because then you can recast it. Because very much like Chain Veil combos and stuff like that, there's already this established board state that it comes into play with. So the next time you recast Ral, well, you already have 6 instants or sorceries already cast. You just need to cast 1 more and get them to flip again, and you can rip that -8 a second time.
It's pretty cool. And you can replay Ral immediately and then start ripping those free instants and sorceries, because if you resolve the flip while the flip is on the stack, you can just rip the rest of the instants, and then the enter will see all of those instants.
Pretty nice. We had this moment where one player in the pod was like, the Ral player was like, yo, can I swing in and get 1 treasure? And that was our demise. cEDH is one of those things where it's like, you never want to give the storm deck
what was offered.
Nothing.
No,
there was get like a little bit of value to maybe try and stop me, because I had like a bunch of stuff with Ob.
Exactly. Tony had a board state where Ob was looking very, very scary.
Shocking.
This was also turn 3, right?
Yeah. So we looked to our 1 blue player and we were like, can you help? And he was like, if I can get 1 treasure. Yeah. And then he got the treasure and he was like,
and then he
time to storm off.
Yeah, that will help.
It was crazy because it was like very Xaxes on like mana until they got the first flip, and then all of a sudden they ripped these rituals. Like it was insane. It was pretty sick.
It just explodes. So that's the list that I've been like gold fishing like crazy for the last 3 days. And holy fuck, it's really, really fun. The turns are long. And, you know, to Jay Sarmi's credit, he was like, do you think this list is salty because the turns are really, really long and stuff like that? Like, he was very sensitive that he was taking up all the time. But we were just enraptured. We were like, fucking keep going, dude. Like, this is crazy.
Rare is it moment where the other players in the pod actually give a shit about what you're doing instead of just like blank staring.
Well, I feel like what made it interesting is because I had Ob for so long, he was still feeding me.
Yes.
So there was like potential for interaction.
Because with every Ral flip that failed, it was 1 damage and Tony got a card. There were so many instances where Tony was just like flipping tons of cards. And, you know, me and the other player would like look towards this guy and we were like, are you sure you want to keep feeding Ob? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep feeding him. I was like, okay. I mean, he ended up
But
winning.
then it quickly shifted from being like Tony's the problem to like, oh wait, we're gonna lose like right now. You know,
like he got a bonus round down, which copies every instant or sorcery that anyone casts. So any player, it's going to copy. And once he got that and one counter spell, we were just like, okay, it's fucking over. Because at a certain point, Tony was like, oh man, if I get a deflecting spot, and I was like, yeah, he'll just counter it twice with the counters that he has. Like, there's no hope at this point, man. Yeah. But it was really, really cool to see it pop off. It was a super interesting game to have it be like the first game we played.
I do wonder if like the novelty of that wears off if you see it regularly, because I feel like it was fun now, but if that's in your pod and you're playing against it every week.
I mean, you know, how do we feel about when Tony storms off with Ob Nixilis? It's the same shit.
I'm over it.
I feel pretty bad about it. Yeah, it's pretty shit deck for a shit player.
Cool.
Be better if it was Is It.
Mike should say that because he's also like isn't pilled on the fucking.
I was gonna say, if only it was if it was Niv
Mizzet.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Baby. Yeah, we'll get there. So the rest of the games that we had were very fun. Like we played one with Florian that was super interesting.
That was so fun for me because I've been brewing on Ob Nixilis with Florian. And so even though he was definitely my opponent, it felt like we were playing together somehow. Because like I would get a thing down, he's like, "Yeah, you're doing it." I was
like, "Thanks, he was like backseat driving a little bit. Like there were a few moments where I had to be like, "You have to stop helping him, Florian."
It wasn't even helping. It was much. It was just like
it literally was.
It was not. Oh my god, calm down. Florian, I love you. He's just jealous.
I love you too, but don't help. If someone's trying to win in a cEDH game,
that's not even how it went. He literally is the one who stopped me from winning.
Thankfully.
Yeah, I was gonna say at least have the grace to pretend you're explaining the risk of what they're about to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, watch out. He's about to go get
grinding station and combo off right now.
He could go get.
Well, he did say that, but I don't have grinding station in the deck, and it was the only time I ever wished I had.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was funny. And then the other games we played, so I think I ended up winning that game just because you and Florian had such a tete-a-tete stack battle, like going back and forth like crazy, where you kept like threatening wins and he kept stopping you, and like both of you were just grinding out like every little drop of value. And then it went to my turn, and I had to
just pass the turn.
Time to combo off with fields down all around me, baby. I don't give a shit. And that was the fucking best.
Yeah.
And then the last game we played was very fun. That one was with Brent Shy and Srotnus Sequoia. Sequoia just. We talk about this in our live episode, which hopefully has good enough quality to make it to the main feed. But Sequoia just kept fucking stuffing Tony with counter spells. It was so funny.
It was so bullshit.
It was so funny. I mentioned it in the live show, but I'll say it again here. There's a moment where Tony's doing Agatha's Soul Cauldron Walking Ballista combo, and he casts the Walking Ballista, and we're all like way too in our head about it. And we're like, you got to counter the Ballista. And he counters it. And it goes to Tony's graveyard, and Tony's like, cool. It was going there anyways. I don't give a shit. Yeah. And we were like, oh,
Did he play Ballista for 0?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're fucking stupid, dude.
Ballista for 0.
I cast it for 0. And then
he cast it for 0, and we were like, we gotta fucking counter it.
We gotta counter it.
So Sequoia counters it. And then we're like, fuck, we're fucked. And Tony's like, hell yeah. Time to play the Soul Cauldron. And he plays the Soul Cauldron. And Sequoia's just like, okay, I'll just counter this one too. Like had enough counters to just fucking throw one away on a stupid target.
But no, the worst thing is that on turn 1, he fucking
countered your Dark Writ.
He countered my Dark Writ. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Was it a mental misstep or was it a
it was
like a dispel or something.
It was a dispel. It was brutal. A 1-mana counter. Like
so good.
Admittedly, it was his like second cEDH game. But
killed it.
He had played the deck before and like knew the lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he went first in rotation, and he played a volcanic island and passed, and like didn't play anything else. And I was like,
I was
like,
it.
Man, he like I should have coached him more. Like he's not doing
what else
good.
Was I gonna do?
Like
that's good.
I was like, this is rough. He's in a bad spot. And then it got to Tony's turn. He's just like, counter that. I was like, fuck, this guy knows what he's doing.
This guy's better than me.
It was so funny, dude.
Definitely better than Tony though.
That's
low
amazing.
bar.
It was so funny,
Bullshit.
man. Oh, it was crazy. Anywho, so that whole event was fucking amazing. Had a super, super good time doing that.
Yep.
Nick, what were you up to doing that? Were you just jamming games on the side?
Yeah, I think I honestly don't remember. I think I was jamming games with patrons.
You were.
Yeah.
I think that sounds
I played
right.
with Kreen and Flood and maybe Beat. I don't remember. Yeah.
The boys, the crew.
Salty crew.
Das boys.
Yeah, we had some fun ones. We just, I mean, they were more just kind of like high power casual type stuff, but it was fun.
Some trash.
I brought my my Serdan deck, which I think is a really good con deck.
It is.
It's just so weird with all the voting mechanics. And then I played Baloth Raised by Giants as well, which is another fun, like just totally messes the kind of game mechanics up with all the goad stuff. So it was good.
Yeah.
It was a good day.
I feel like both of those introduce like social elements that are really fun when you're playing with random groups of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. If you've never seen those decks before and you don't know what to do, it's just like, how do I vote here? What am I voting for?
Yeah.
Serdan specifically, like we got to play a game with Serdan this weekend. And I mean, we did get pub stomped by Rothbox, which we'll get to. But
yes. Forgot about that.
But I forgot how like fun that deck is with like the voting mechanics and shit like that. You haven't played that one in a while.
I haven't. It's been kind of
great.
off the rotation for a bit, but it was good to bring it back for the con.
It's good for like the first time you play against it, but it's also got some good sticking power because it's got like clones and stuff, and it's just like generally pretty strong. So yeah, it's a good deck. A+.
Thanks, Mike.
Like the deck.
I like
the deck.
I like the stock. After that, we had our meet and greet, which was really cool. So,
baby.
Thanks to everyone who came by for that. It was great meeting and greeting all of you.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated.
it was like very humbling, and just I don't know. There are a lot of like really humbling moments this past weekend that were just so cool. And the meet and greet was one. The line constantly replenished. It never got down to nobody. And we just signed things for like an hour and 45 minutes straight. Like we stayed late. We stayed overtime signing shit and meeting people. And man, it was really, really cool. It was just like, I know people listen to the show and that they like the show, but when you meet them in person, it's a different energy.
Nice.
It's very, like I said, very humbling. It's very
I got to write fuck blue on at least like 4 or 5 counter spells, one of which was a borderless fucking fierce guardianship, and I was like, this is hot.
Yeah, that was really funny.
I like loved that.
Somebody brought up one of the promo counter spells that people were getting over the weekend. That's like Brewvac with the giant scroll, and had to sign it. We signed like a shit ton of Howling Minds, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
We also gave out a bunch of casino tokens.
Casino tokens.
Yeah.
For some reason I couldn't remember the word poker chip the whole fucking weekend. I was like, take a casino token.
Even just for that hour, it was like not a word.
Yeah, Sam's brain was particularly fried for that.
My brain
for
was
some reason.
My brain was just off for a lot of that.
They were really sick. We got these custom poker chips that have like Howling Salt Mine on the front, like the logo and everything, and they were fucking sick, and everybody was like, these are great. And I think we're admittedly a little shocked when we got them, and we're like, these are dope as fuck.
Yeah,
like,
nice.
they're weighted very nice, like they actually were quality, and it was just like sick. It was really cool. I like the trend of having fun merch at cons that like kind of relate to the city a little bit and stuff. So like, it's cool.
So see us in Chicago in February when we're going to give out slices of
Hot
deep
dogs.
dish pizza to everybody.
Oh, but we did
Give
pizza
out
last
hot
time.
dogs.
Low key
A
amazing.
stiff breeze.
We just blow on them.
Yeah, it is here's your city wind.
And here's your complimentary rat in a piece of concrete that you can take home. Rest in peace, Sidewalk Rat. So that was really, really cool. I think one of my favorite things was that like it was funny because it came up later in the weekend, but we had a bunch of people coming up and like asking us to sign cards in their decks that made other people salty. And this one guy came up, Atreyu, and he had a Animar deck, walked up and immediately ripped into this salty story where
The
he was
saga,
like, I made my group like super pissed off. I was just controlling them like crazy. I had like Eldrazi out. I was annihilating their board. I was like flickering things. You know, this is great. He's like, so I need you to sign this because it pissed off my whole playroom. Yeah, hell yeah, we will. He ended up losing his deck on Saturday, and we were able to like go back to that moment on Friday and be like, we remember who it was and get the deck back to him, which was cool. But yeah, it was awesome. And a bunch of new people came up too. You know, Wizards does this like passport thing where people kind of have these like autograph books, I guess. And some creators have stamps, some creators are just signing, and they go around and try to get as many creators as they can to sign. And it's really a cool way for people to like find new creators. And a lot of people were like, tell us about your show. And then, you know, we would like bump into those people later on in the weekend, and they were like hype about the show and stuff like that. Like it was very cool. It was like an interesting element that they added.
I thought it was funny, like how many spouses and partners were like walking around with the autograph books, and they were like, I listened to you guys because the funny part is at the beginning, and it's not about Magic. That happened like more than a handful of times, I think.
Yeah, that non-zero.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Covert Go Gina, which is Covert Go Blue's wife, who Tony and I bumped into on Sunday, and she like also is.
She's the OG.
She also plays Magic, so she like gets the whole show. But yeah, she's the OG for that. Who's like, I love the show because it's one of the funnier Magic podcasts, and on road trips, that's the one that I want to listen to. So after that, I mean, we just kind of kicked it. We went down and jammed a casual game because we just hadn't really played a game like all together. Tony went and made some purchases.
Vended.
Oh yeah, that was that day.
Yes, that was that.
I was like,
day.
when did I do the damage? And it was definitely
The damage.
It's because so we're going downstairs. There was 5 of us. I was like, we can't all play, but one of us can buy things. Who's gonna do that?
Who could that be?
So like,
Who
I'll
could
just
it
fucking let
be
them play
now?
the game. I was determined to get a dual land. And part of it was wanting to go on the first day because like most of the good deals are going to be gone by the end. And I feel like normally I only have time at the end. So I was like, this is perfect. Day 1, not that many people here yet. Definitely tons of stuff at the shops. And I did some shopping, boys. And I got a Wheel of Fortune and I got a Badlands. I also got a foil gold etched Blood Moon. So even though I don't like stacks, that card is very sexy, and I do run it in Ob now, and so I was like, I gotta fucking get it. I feel like I bought something else, but I don't remember because it doesn't.
You did. You bought a Fire Covenant.
No, I bought that the second day because I didn't find it the first day.
Mox Amber, borderless Mox Amber.
No, I wish there isn't one of those.
Chrome Mox?
Oh, Mox Opal.
Yeah,
that was it.
Okay. Sorry, I got the wrong mod.
That is a big difference, though.
It's a totally different card.
Opal and Amber?
Opal and Amber.
Very different. One has
2
a
artifacts, 1 legend. How different is that?
Wow.
Basically, it was just all stuff for Ob, and it just felt great, and it was awesome. And while I was doing that, having a wonderful time, is that when he pub stomped you?
Yes. Yeah, that's when we were stomped.
So we sit down. It was so funny because we were just teasing Andrew so much about this. Love you, Andrew. He's not here to defend himself. So we sit down
time
and
to
time to really lean in.
tell it how it really was.
Exactly, to tell the truth. So Andrew's playing his Rona Disciple of Gix deck. It's like Dimir artifacts, right? I want to play birds. It's the only casual deck I brought that day. I was packing pretty light because I knew it was just going to be kind of all cEDH that day. So I wanted to play my new bird deck, which is helmed by Castrel, the new Bloomborough Bird Lord. So I built that deck the week before and was like ready to jam it. Nick played Sirdan, and Mike was on his Severus something Druid. What is that background?
Hermit Druid? No.
Is Hermit Druid? No,
No.
Cloakwood Hermit.
Cloakwood Hermit Druid.
Yeah. He was on Severus Cloakwood Hermit. So, we're like, what's the power level? We're like, it could be kind of trashy, maybe. Andrew's like, I'm just kind of around a 7.
I was going to say, didn't he say that he was at a 7?
Literally. He did. He's like, I'm at a 7.
It's a good setup. It's going to be one of those games and it's about a 7.
At a 7. And I was like, cool, because I only have this one list. And Nick was like, Sirdan's a 7. And Mike was like, I have this deck. It's kind of combo-y, but it's budget, so it'll be fine.
It's degenerate combo, but it's budget, so it can punch up, though.
So we're playing. And Andrew's deck is just Pop it off, man. He gets like an Urza really early. You guys know Urza, that really salty card that is very strong. He gets an Urza really early. He's playing like gets like a Mox Opal and a Mox Amber out. He's like tutoring in his deck with like Whir of Invention and shit like that. And at a certain point, he assembles a
Thopter Assembly Time Sieve combo.
Yeah, he assembles Thopter Assembly Time Sieve. And well, it's threatened. Like it's there.
Yeah, it's on the board.
We know it's gonna happen because he's got the Thopter Assembly down, and we're like, okay, we need to like deal with that. So we managed to deal with it. And it's funny because while this is going on, Mike had like a Necrotic Ooze combo going.
Yeah. I was assembling a Necrotic Ooze combo. That was happening. It was also all I was going to be able to do all game because it's what the deck does. But also, I don't know what happened during this game, but for some reason, I had the exact read on everything that Andrew had going on.
You did.
Like I saw the Thopter Assembly come down, and I was like, guys, we're going to need to kill that. We moved it. And literally the next turn, he like goes for a different
sieved.
Time sieve line.
Yeah, and then he got like a Sharding Sphinx, which when you deal combat damage with an artifact
how do you pronounce that?
Make
is it
new flying Thopters.
Sharding Sphinx?
Sharding.
All of your
Sharting
tokens shart into different tokens.
You guys, I could have swore you guys kept saying sharting when you were talking about it on the live episode.
I try to hit that D, but I'm from New England, so sharding.
It definitely sounded like sharting.
Sharding and sharding are the same.
There was a lot of sharting.
I literally didn't realize that it was actually a card. I thought it was just something different. I didn't think it was sharding versus sharding.
Oh my God.
No,
I thought it was some other word that sounded similar to sharding.
Oh man,
that's the joke, Tony. That's the whole joke.
I didn't think that sharding was actually the card.
Sharding. Like imagine the
sharding?
Sphinx is breaking off into shards.
Like a broken mirror, because that's kind of what
I was going to say somewhere different, and I didn't. So I'll just let it be. Move on.
I know. Again, that's the joke.jpg. You were thinking it was shart, like a poopy fart.
No. I understand. Never mind. Just keep going.
Thanks, Tony. That's
You
a good
think it was something
interlude.
even more devious?
No, he just thought it was something totally different, like shielding Sphinx.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can speak Tony.
I can
Here
speak
for it.
So, anyways, he pops off with this combo, and the game ends, and we're like, "Hey, you take infinite turns." Like and to our credit, we do a fucking really good job of trying to stop him. Like we get rid of the Thopter Assembly. He goes for the Sharding Sphinx line, and I remove that. Like I have some interaction in my deck. Like we're really trying to stave off
fogged at some point.
Yeah, you fogged to
Try and stop it.
Yeah, you
the
fogged
Sphinx
to
needs
stop
combat damage.
Right. Yeah.
So like we're doing our best, but he just has so many artifacts out, and he has like a Padim out, which is giving all of his artifacts Shroud, or giving all of his artifacts hexproof, so he can't fucking interact with them. Like he just has so much going on. So the game ends, and we're like, "Wow, thanks for like pub stopping us." And he's like, "No, this deck's like," he's like, "This deck's a 7." He's like, "I think it's closer to a 7 than an 8." We're like, "That is a trash Magic deck. That is like a textbook trash Magic deck." He's like, "Well, does it have Demonic Tutor in it?" We were like, "Dude, you still tutored, and you had 2 pieces of fast."
Yeah,
mana.
you still played Chrome Mox.
An important context of this was before we played the game, Andrew was recounting a story of the last time that he played the deck, in which he was also accused of pub stomping because he, quote unquote, had a good hand and then just like ran the table. Like, interesting that happens twice.
Oh, exactly. It was funny because he was denying it so hard, and we were joking about how it's all of the hallmarks of a pub stomp. Like we sat down, he's like, "I only have 1 casual deck on me," and we were like, "Okay," and he's like, "I think it's about a 7." We were like, "Okay," and then he's like, "Yeah, the last time I played it, I did brutally pub stomp the table." We were like, "That's fine," and then he's like, "Yeah, I just am gonna do artifact things and like free mana, winning with a 2-card combo."
Players,
Yeah, playing Urza immediately, playing stacks. That's the other thing. He had Meekstone in the deck, so he at some point he just drops a stacks piece, and we can't untap with a bunch of our creatures.
Meekstone is a pretty mellow stacks piece, though. I feel like it's more on the line
Like
of
a
like
speed bump.
propaganda than it is, say, Dranith.
To me, anything that makes me not untap stuff is
Fair.
is Staxy. That's fair.
It's kind of a lot. And like he was playing Emery and doing like some Emery shit. Like there's a lot, man. The deck was pretty nasty if we haven't like really cemented that. So, he was just crushing us. So we were like, that's trash magic. He's like, I think it's a 7.
Probably somewhere in between those two things. Maybe it's a high variance deck.
Could be.
That's the benefit of the doubt, is that it's high variance. That deck better have some complete dudders of hands.
We looked at a lot of cards, and I did not see a lot of dud cards.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now.
Did he send it to you?
He posted it on, like a fool, he posted it on Twitter the other day, so I can look at it. I mean, he was doing like KCI shit at one point. Like there are a couple duds in there as far, actually not even, man. All the cards are good and abusable. Yeah, it's a good list. It's a good list, man.
Good list for trash magic.
Yep. Good list for trash magic for sure. Anyways, half the fun of that game was like really digging into Andrew because he's such a sweetheart.
It's interesting because I just like totally missed it.
Yeah.
I went, bought cards, came back. They were getting pub stomped. I wasn't even looking. Somebody came up and was like chatting. Is like, I think a patron or something. And we played basic land game a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fucking awesome. It was great. And it's the only time I played all weekend, but I'm glad that I brought it anyway. Because it was actually perfect. Because they were kind of like, oh, do you want to like play a game? And I was like, no, but I do want to play a basic land game. Like, it was like the perfect thing, perfect amount of time. And literally, he finished pub stomping you as we finished up our basic land game.
Nice.
It was fucking perfect.
Yeah, the timing was pretty ideal. So at that point, we pack up, we leave, and we head back to the Airbnb. That night,
it was a boys' night.
I think we have to glaze over this because we still have 2 more days to talk about. We cannot get into the details.
Yeah.
No, we don't have to.
Suffice to say,
we can say we had a dope ass meal.
yeah, we had a dope ass boys.
Really good one. I think we talked about it in the last Vegas episode. So if you're
Probably.
really fiending to hear us describe in a lot of detail an absolutely delicious sushi meal, that's probably your best bet to go find that.
Yeah, I mean, on Friday night, some people went to like the Wizards party and like hung out and drank beer and mingled. We reserved a private room and had like a 6-course sushi meal with fresh ingredients that were flown in from Tokyo that morning. So
Just on another level. here.
Boys' night.
Hashtag boys' night.
hashtag fucking fancy boys night. Like it was
It was
insane.
very fun.
Yeah, it was sick as fuck.
We did that when we were there in 2022. So
Tradition now.
every time we go to Vegas, we're just going to do that. Anywho,
Oh, man.
on to Saturday. So that night we got back, we hung out a little bit, and then woke up the next day. Saturday, boom, Saturday morning, walk in, and we are full of energy, a little antsy, because you know what? We got the live show that morning. 11 a.m. in the community panel room. So the first thing that we do is we identify where that fucking room is.
That is the only thing that wasn't like a horrible thing about the con by any means or definition. But now I think about it, I wish the community panel room was just like a little bit closer.
Yeah, more central.
Or a little easier to get to.
I just wish it was labeled better.
It was like outside of the convention area in all reality. Like it was like in a completely separate space. So you had to find it and get to it.
Yeah.
And like if you wanted to go to it and you were at the creator section, it was
a hike.
actually
It was a hike.
the farthest point away you could be from the community panel room.
Yeah, pretty much.
The other thing was that because like various, prestigious MTG guests were already in other rooms, there were like lines forming outside of the hallway.
Yeah.
And it was not clear that you did not need to wait for those. Like, I think they would have benefited from moving the like sign of what room was what to the like outside of the hallway.
Agreed.
Because it was like a bit confusing of like, do I need to wait in this line to get into the show?
Yeah.
Or is this for something completely different? And I think that could have been improved a bit. But I mean, it was pretty minor overall.
Yeah,
for sure.
it didn't seem like a huge speed bump.
Yeah, like Command of the Zone folks were doing signatures and shit like over there. One of our patrons joked about how somebody should wait in the line to meet Josh and Jimmy and then get to the front and be like, you're not the Howling Soulman.
Where's the live episode?
Which would have been a really great bit. That would have been a good bit. So we ended up popping up to the Creator Central, meeting up with our buddy Diana. Shout out to Diana. She was fucking amazing all weekend. She was so awesome. Really cool to hang with and chat with.
Really cool to get awesome product from.
Yeah, we were like,
all of
hey,
you.
We're doing some giveaways. And we were just wondering if you had like anything else. Because at the meet and greet the previous day, like Dragon Shield had supplied a bunch of stuff. So we were like, hey, maybe we get like a box of sleeves or something we could give away. And she's like, here's 2 Bloomborough collector booster boxes and an entire booster box of Duskmourn. And we were like, fuck yeah. So we brought all of that down. And that morning, we had kind of devised like a raffle for the live show where we could like draw some random cards and like give away prizes and stuff. So Tony and I pooled some of our like salt themed cards that we have, Salt Blasts and Rain of Salt.
Yeah, the true 30% will know because they listened way back when we talked about
early days
and spiking the costs of Salt Blast and Rain of Salt. You can literally see a jump in MTG stocks, which I think is fucking hilarious.
On like the day that we bought, we went to every place and we bought all of them out. Like the one you got, Rain of Salt, actually went up like 50 cents or something.
Yeah, it was fucking hilarious.
Salt Blast is a much smaller blip, but it is there. So we bought all of those. So we brought like 50 of those. And that morning we had like, Tony had numbered 1 through 50 on the back. And the plan was to like give them out because we didn't know how many people were going to show up.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, we brought 50 being like, if 30 people show up, I'll be fucking ecstatic.
Yeah. We like did the math beforehand and we were like, I bet we get 20 people between like our patrons that are there.
Yeah.
Friends who said they would pop in. Like
all engineers 20. Very good at math.
Yeah, exactly. Keep in mind, I'm a fucking dirt engineer. So you don't really need much math with, that's a lie. I was going to say you don't need much math with chemistry, but I guess you do.
I was going to say, you're probably better at math than the rest of us.
Yeah. That's probably true. So anywho, we get to the event and there's a few people already there. The sound guy is really awesome, gets us set up, and we hit the live show.
I think that was one of the crazy things. I just want to call out. I'm pretty sure Cyrus Speedy was one of them. It was like there before we were there.
Yes.
Like they're waiting, front row, ready to fucking go.
Yes.
Ready to get live salt.
Yeah. It was fucking awesome,
sick.
Dude.
So we get all set up. It's just so cool, man. Like people coming in and getting excited and sitting down. Tony's like giving out the raffle cards and booster packs to people as they come in. And it's just like, we're seeing patrons, we're seeing friendly faces. We're also seeing a shit ton of people that we've never met before. The total count at the end, like we talked to the sound guy who was like managing that room because they have to do head counts for like fire safety and like room capacity and stuff. And he said there were 79 people in the room, which was nuts.
Yeah. It was this thing where like I gave out the 50. So we had the box and everybody who came, the first 36 people, it turned out, got a booster pack.
Well,
with
and we had 9 extras because I had brought 9 from the Duskmourn bundle that we got because we were hashtag sponsored.
So the first like 50-ish folks. But then once I ran out of cards, I was just like, if you weren't here, you don't get to get
That's all we got.
A thing. Yeah. First 50, baby. That's just how it is.
Exactly.
And so it was just fucking cool.
Yeah, it was very surreal. It was really, really cool.
Shit.
Like, we sang the theme song. I like did the thing that I say at the start of every episode. I like said it live. I, of course, forgot to hit the recording until like 5 minutes into the episode. And then we just did a full ep and it was awesome, man, because we got all the questions from the people who were in the audience and like shout out to everybody who did a question.
Or a story.
A story. We'll cook through the rest of those in upcoming episodes just to put them front and center and give everybody their moment. But man, it was super cool. It was fun to have like that audience participation element. It was so cool to hear people laugh in real time. Like it was crazy.
Well, because it's such a different energy.
Yeah.
Right. Like all the time we do this and we're just we're just laughing at each other and we're like, are we funny? Question mark. And I think one of the best parts too is like, people who were there got to see the moments where we're like, that doesn't make it in the episode, but it is in the live one.
It is here.
It's here and now.
Normally we'd cut that joke because it's not very funny. But you guys laughed, so we'll leave it in.
I think it was particularly entertaining watching you guys like realize that you could turn to the audience and be like, did this work the way? You're like, there's like a real-time moment. It's like, oh, wait a minute, there's an audience. Like we could actually ask follow-up questions that we normally couldn't ask of like a normal like storyteller. That was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, that element was really cool to be able to ask the people who sent the stories in and be like, was it like this? Like, were they doing it like this? Like, oh yeah, it was just like that.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Yeah. And then, we had like a full audience participation moment with the Salty Card of the Week. I sang a salty song, of course. It was just perfect. And we timed it
Perfect.
I don't know how, because we
nailed it.
Always fucking fail at timing.
The first time we succeed on timing is
literally
maybe the last.
First ever. And it was perfect. We did almost have a moment where it went off because like I was like, I'm gonna do one short one, and we were like, we could do a long one, like maybe we do 4, and then it was like perfect timing.
Did you have like a stopwatch or something going?
No, we didn't have a watch or anything. We we had kind of talked
checking time
loosely beforehand and been like, we want segments to be this long, like 10, 15 minutes, but
then that went out the window and we just
we did just one for 20 minutes and then one for 5 minutes and then one for like 15.
That works.
We just somehow made it through.
I like this somehow. I was aggressively checking my watch.
Somehow. No, I was too. I was checking my watch pretty constantly throughout that.
I was not, even though I was literally wearing a watch.
Mike, did you pick the salty card based off the previous game, or did you already have that picked? Okay.
No, I selected that purely based on the fact that I wanted to cheer Prof. Of course, the salty card had to be time sieve, but I do also always kind of try and keep the card relevant unless
topical.
Unless there is nothing that fits for that well.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is like huge shout out to anybody and everybody that came, because it was like a very special moment and like felt really cool. And
for the opportunity to do it from Wizards and Diana for helping us set that up. It was very funny. I know we got in kind of last minute with our panel for it. So like the sign for it had like
just a piece of tape
written over like what was the initial one.
Yeah, it's just a piece of white gaff tape.
White gaff tape and Sharpie. It kind of looked like we had just taken it over.
After we left, I was like, I wish I peeled that off and fucking kept it. I wish I had peeled that piece of tape off and brought it home, because that's such a memento, dude. I like, Nick got a really good photo of it. Nick, you got a lot of really good photos.
Thank you for those pictures, Nick. They're awesome.
You got a photo that's good enough where I think I might zoom in and try to print off that piece of gaff tape and just have it like in my house and be like, that's the first sign ever to the Howling Saltline live show. But yeah, super thankful for everyone that showed up and supported us and gave us all like a ton of praise and just made it a huge success. It was really a dream come true. Like we talk about it a lot. Tony and Mike aren't like huge podcast junkies. I am. I listen to a fuck ton of podcasts and like live podcasts are something that I hear a lot of my like favorite podcasts do. And they have done them in the past and stuff like that. So to do a live show was always like a secret dream. And to actually do it and have it be good was amazing.
I mean, it was like fucking great.
Yeah, like, fucking amazing.
I couldn't believe how fucking flawlessly it went.
It was very fun.
It's all downhill from here.
I literally,
we peaked.
It can only be worse. It can't be better.
I think you guys like waited the right amount of time to do it though, where there was like enough audience there, because it would have been like if you tried to like force it too early into the podcast and you get like 10 people that show up and it's like, oh yeah, we did our first live show. But this is like, oh no shit, like this is legit. This is a legit thing.
And people showed.
People showed. That was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we were doing it for a room of 10 people, it would just be like, you guys just want to play 4 cEDH games or something. Just break into pods instead. And
we just turn off the mics and get real close and sit in a circle. Like, hey guys.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm salty.
I think the last thing I'll say about this particular event is that when I was chatting with the guy who helped set up our sound and everything for the weekend, he like doesn't play Magic. And his big thing was like, yo, this was fucking sick, and it was awesome, and I'm gonna go buy some Magic cards. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like it was awesome. It was
Yeah,
really cool.
that was a really, really cool moment.
And Tony only managed to drop one F-bomb the whole time too.
And we're PG-13 still, baby. You get one in the movies.
Absolutely my favorite picture from the entire con. Credit goes to Nick for this. I'm pretty sure it's literally the moment where Sam has said ass and is continuing to talk about something. And I've realized that Sam doesn't realize that ass is a bad word.
They say ass in commercials, dude. It's fine. But yeah, Mike has this like head in his hand.
Just like perfect.
I'm just like talking, and Tony's just like listening intently. I'm like, that's like the perfect dynamic, dude.
It really is.
It's so funny. We did manage to keep it PG-13. I will bleep out that horrible curse word, that F-bomb that Tony.
You literally don't have to. It's literally PG-13.
You know, but I want it to be Y7. So
My God, fuck that. Fuck that fucking
Is
shit.
it?
Fuck it.
PG-13, you get one F-bomb and one
Yeah,
nipple.
it is one. I was curious.
And one nipple.
It's true. One nipple.
Yep.
Titanic, notably a PG-13 movie.
Interesting.
And you get to see Leonardo DiCaprio's sweet nips.
I was curious if there would be a runtime requirement, but I don't think there is.
for
Get the one.
PG-13.
For how many
Yeah,
nipples
in order
per
to
hour?
earn that
Your
Like, you
NPH?
need to exceed an hour.
A 1 minute
One F
PG-13
per
movie
hour.
where it's just like fuck
and a nipple.
and then whips out
Yeah, and a
nipple, and the movie ends.
Amazing. Academy Award winning director.
so
Oh,
innovative.
man. So after the live show, we leave, we eat, and we just like sink into a stupor for a good hour because I just had sweat out like all the liquid in my body.
Yeah. And all
Yeah.
the possible excitement.
Yeah.
That was a problem throughout the whole weekend. Was like I was joking that it was like in Dune where they like harvest the water out of the bodies of like the deceased in order to conserve it. That's
Yes.
what it felt like. I was just like, I'm like a shriveled raisin right now. Like,
Dude, it literally
so dry.
was.
So
And like
dry.
we would have some event or some like big social thing, like the meet and greet. Once we were done with the meet and greet, I just went dormant for a good 30 minutes. I just needed to like do nothing. So after that, we like ate some lunch, we cracked a bunch of packs and we just chilled. And then we had our prospector meetup in Creator Central for a few hours in the afternoon. It was a little different than the Chicago setup. So in Chicago, we just grabbed a bunch of open tables, sat down, and like prospectors were potting up, we were potting up, and we just jammed games for like 4 or 5 hours.
And we sort of in Chicago just slurped up table space wherever we could find it.
Yeah.
And ended up with like a lot of space.
Yeah, we just found it and we're like, we're taking all these tables over and we're going to knock this out. It was also the first day when we did it in Chicago. We did it on Friday. So like usually on Friday, there's more open table space because by the time like Saturday, Sunday rolls around, people are like, I've done all the things I want to do. I've bought all the shit I want to buy. I'm just going to jam games now.
Yeah.
So with this, we had reserve tables, which was fucking awesome. Again, thank you to Diana and her team for doing that and giving us the option.
Her team.
Her team of herself.
Of her.
Hey man, I don't know. She could have a team. There's a couple other people there.
I think she had said that a few times. She's like, I'm a team of me. Sometimes she gets some help. So another reason to shout her out because she's like crushing it.
Yeah, Diana's amazing. This is truly just my corporate life, my 11 years as a corporate office
Yeah, I mean,
dude
that's what you say. We all
leaking
say
through.
it.
Whenever there's somebody who I want to praise, I just say and their team because I assume
Yeah.
there's people that I don't know. It's like a safety catch-all because I don't want to heap praise on somebody who worked and then like the other person's like, well, I worked on it too. And I'm like, oh fuck, you know. So I think that's a vestige of that. Anyways, so we had 3 tables. We basically had space for like 3 pods and, you know, a couple of extra chairs and stuff. So we took a page out of the Play to Win guys book. Something that they do whenever they go to conventions is they create like a sign-up sheet and they just jam games with people as they come.
Oh man, hold up though. Like 5 minutes beforehand, we're like, we should have some kind of sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
We did not have an actual sign-up sheet. So we started with the draft chaff that I found around.
Sharpie on the back of a card, baby.
Sharpie. Guess what? Sharpie doesn't really work super well on the back of a fucking Magic card, which is unfortunate. It was fun in concept. Because it was like, okay, get a pod, write it on a Magic card, and give it to me. And then that's the order we'll go down and just like fill pods up, right?
Yeah.
In practice, didn't really fucking work.
Chaos.
Somebody was a fucking Chad and got us a pen and a piece of paper. I don't even know who it was. Who was it?
It was me.
But where'd you get it from?
I got it from Diana. Fuck yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So really, Diana is the champion.
I went up to Diana and I was like, Diana, can I please have a paper and pen, please?
Please, bro.
We're drowning.
She was like, you don't have paper and pen? I was like, please, Diana, please.
I feel like it got to a point where it was better, like once we were in it. But my personal regret from the weekend is not having like a better system for that when we arrived.
I agree. I think we'll do that differently in the future.
And I don't know exactly what the right way to do it is, but like for me in particular, I was trying to like help to coordinate it and like call the pods out when we got to a point that we needed to fill more space. And the reality is that if you were playing with me, like I had to stop pretty frequently to be like, hey, this person, like this is how you fill out this thing. And then I also had to be like, okay, pause the game. Like I'm going to try and shout out these fucking names. The one goddamn person who immediately signed up, one of the first names to sign up, and I think just left. I think it was Paul. It was something.
Dude, there was like
Damien?
six.
I think it was
there were
Damien.
6 people. There was like 6 people who signed the sign up sheet. And when I called out their names, they weren't around. I was like,
kept calling
who are
these names
people?
in order, and these motherfuckers left, which is cool. That's fine. But like,
should have been
eventually I just
crossing those
scratched their
off.
names out. Well,
We
I
should have
did.
crossed that in.
I did.
We did
but it's like,
eventually.
you know, I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe people just stepped away for a bit. I didn't want to completely X them out, but it was crazy and hectic, but definitely a lot of fun.
So
definitely
fun.
a ton of prospectors around. We mined a bunch of salt. I got fucking salty in some of the games. Some Marnius
there's
deck just
definitely
like
some
kind of
salt.
stomping us a little bit.
We may or may not have a salty story that someone submitted about.
probably.
Yeah, we do already. We do. Saw it come in today.
I played a bunch of just fantastic games. I mean, I think the funniest one that I have to shout out, there are these 2 guys. Again, I'm shit with names. I apologize. But there are these 2 guys that signed up. And when Tony called out their names, they were like, oh, actually, we want to play with Sam. And Tony was like, well, fuck you guys. And just like kept going down the list of names, which they thought was very funny.
Well, because then I forgot that was like the desire, so I kept calling their name, and they kept being like, "Oh, we want to go in this spot." So then eventually, I just wrote "fuck this guy" next to their names. So when I read their name, I was like, "Oh, fuck you!" Actually, yeah, they're not doing. So I
next
knew how to
person.
skip it. You know,
That was so funny. And they got a good kick out of that. So, anyways, these 2 guys have waited like an hour, 2 hours to play this game, right? But we need a third, so we're looking to play high power casual. They sit down and they have a buddy there and they're like, oh, our friend will play with us. He's got high power. So I'm playing Roger Arden. One of these guys who is waiting is playing Glarb, Tony's new deck, Glarb. And then one of the guys is playing Mono Green Omnoth. This is one of the other dudes that was waiting. The dude that they invited, who was interested in playing, but was just sort of like hanging, he is like, all right, I have like a Pantlaza deck. Classic start. He starts with like a Soul Ring on turn 1. And we're like, oh man, like Pantlaza, we gotta watch out for that shit. Turn 3 Pantlaza immediately flips into Teleportation Circle, which on your end step, you flicker a creature that you control. He's automatically getting 1 Pantlaza trigger literally every single turn.
Yeah.
And then every other dinosaur he's playing, he's getting even more. So his board just spins out of control immediately.
Yeah, like so fast.
Long story short, these 2 very nice guys who wanted to jam a game with me and waited a long time to do so sit down, and the 3 of us just get pub stomped by this Jamoke that we invite to be the 4th for our pod. He just fucking crushes us. And they're like, are you going to be playing more games after this? And I was like, probably not, dude. It's like, I'm sorry. At least we have this salty story that we can share. I was like, send the story in. You got to send the story in. And I hope they do. If you're listening right now, please write up the story and send it in. I will embellish it because I was in that game. But we were so fucking salty, man. Like it was really funny. he got a dinosaur out that like when it enters the battlefield, you can pay any amount of green mana and blow up that many artifacts and enchantments, I think.
Oof, that's brutal.
On some turns, he would just hit that with the teleportation circle and blow up like 3 of my sword ofs that I was. So I just had nothing. I had no moves. At a certain point, he has like Flash Vivian out and that artifact that gives all your shit flash that Josh Lee Kwai loves.
Oh, Vidalcanori.
Vidalcanori. He's got all this shit out. He's making insane mana. And when anyone does anything to him, he's like, oh, I'm going to respond. Oh, and the other thing, not to go on and on, the other thing is like one of the most early things he flipped into, I think it was the thing he got right after Teleportation Circle, was Sensei's Divining Top. So the whole game, he was just sculpting the top few cards of his deck to like make the perfect thing to flip into with Bantleza with all those triggers. It was nuts. It was maddening. Anywho, did you guys play some good games during that?
Yes, I played a bunch of awesome casual games. It was kind of funny because I was sort of expecting that I don't know. I feel like I'm often the voice on the podcast that talks about how much I love playing cEDH. So I sort of thought maybe
somebody would be like, yeah, let's play cEDH.
People would want to play cEDH when they sat down with me. That is not what happened. I played pretty much casual games all the way until our time was pretty much up, which was really fun. I got to play fairies a bunch. Precon fairies straight out of the box.
For those of you who don't know,
unsleeved, and it's still good. That deck is really good.
It's an insane deck.
It can do some absurd things. There's a fairy that copies all fairies you play. So you just get double the fairies every time.
Gross.
If you play Tegwheel when you have that fairy out, you just get a free draw because you legend rule the other fairy that comes in. It's just like there's so many little incremental pieces of synergy. And for the most part, it's a draw go deck. So like on your turn, you play rocks. And then on everyone else's turn, you play everything else you want to play. So it's pretty great. Had a really fun time with it. Also got some fun games with Cloakwood, Sivris for those games as well. Lots of interesting decks, some really cool blinked out stuff from other people. A really cool Babala Saga deck that I got to see. Some cool, like a cool Giada deck. Just interesting stuff all around. I'm not going to remember too many of the decks specifically, but it was really cool. And then right at the end, when our technically like the time slot for our meet and greet ran out, Fox shows up like right at the end of this time, is like, you trying to play a cEDH game? And I'm like, this
gives you the eyes. He probably didn't
gives me the eyes. It was the equivalent of like
non-verbal.
Hey,
you guys just like
anyone up want to play a cEDH game in the Discord? It was like exactly that. So Fox was like, trying to play a cEDH game, and I'm like, yes, dude, absolutely. I've been playing casual all day, which is great, but I'm ready for a mix up. And right as we say that, like, 2 other guys slide up and they're like, I was trying to play a cEDH game. It's just like so perfect. Like this group of people coming together, like, is this the moment? We promptly played 2 cEDH games. The first one was really quick. In the first one, I was in seat 1, land fish, and then seat 2 is a Rogsai player, and they just start going for it, like through the fish. I think it's land, Rograk, Springleaf Drum, some other mana rock. Basically, the first turn ends up going into a Jeska's Will. Turn 1, like
damn,
with Roger out.
7 mana, baby.
So 7 mana, 3 cards, flips into a bunch of stuff, resolves a wheel because 7 mana. So resolves a wheel, still with their 3 cards in exile, one of which is a Final Fortune. So we're all staring at this Final Fortune in exile. They wheel into a couple things, but basically just fall just shy that turn of trying to like go for something. So they play a turn 1 Final Fortune.
Oh my God.
So we go to their second turn, which is the 3rd turn of the game. They stitch together like some stuff and they're like, I don't quite have it. They try and win on the first turn and we interact. They try and win on the second turn. And again, they have to eat like counter spells that were wheeled into. And then they just have to pass. So they die before Fox gets his first turn.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous.
It was just like
insane, dude.
It was supreme turbo stuff. And I was sitting there with like a fish the whole time. Like, nice. I'll just deal with some of this stuff. And then it all got wheeled away. So I was sitting on kind of a normal hand.
That's fucking crazy, dude. Oh my God.
They died. We played a quick 3-player game. The other 2 of us blew all our interaction. Then Fox just played an uncontested Thassa's consultation. We were like, cool. And then we played another good one that, was more of a grind fest, and I was able to sneak out a win with Sisse. So it was really nice to cap the playtime off with some cEDH that day. That was great. It's wonderful.
Hell yeah.
Also, Final Fortune.
So funny, dude.
So funny.
My games were also good. We ripped a quick cEDH game to start with Florian and Nick and myself.
That game was scrubbed, as I remember. It was a struggle bus game. Yeah, because it was like, you said it earlier, but you were distracted trying to get everything together.
Yeah.
Did I win that one?
I don't think so. Definitely not. No way.
I don't believe that. I actually
don't think you did.
Animar definitely stopped this weekend quite a bit.
I was going to say, I saw a lot of Animar wins over the weekend. I feel like every time I'd walk by, Nick would be putting like a huge walking ballista on his deck.
I feel like that happened for me. I feel like I also had like a bunch of wins this weekend, and if not even wins, I had a lot of cards in exile. That happened. Like I had a lot of that going on. We played a casual game there was a Marnius deck, and all the rest of us basically could get fucked. I was on Frodo, but like the whole entire game, we were just spent trying. It was like arch enemy trying to stop the Marnius deck, because it wasn't really pub stomping, but it was like too much for what the rest of us had. And so, but honestly, it was like it was a fun game. It was good. We were just like, it felt like we were constantly under a boot, just waiting for it to come all the way down. And then I played a really interesting, weird, high-powered game that had Blood Pot at the table, Animar with Wombo combo shit, but not cEDH.
That's the one we got a story about.
And what's that fucking hippo?
Feldegriff.
Feldegriff. And Feldegriff.
Classic.
So I guess I won't go into the details since there's a story about it, but like it was an interesting game to say the least. And I was playing Rafine, and I got a fucking turn one Sarah ascended. And so that just like,
well, it's
that
because you put
explains
it
the salty story.
It's because I put it at the top. Yeah, for sure.
It's good to know that you cheat when you play against everyone.
I was going to say, the salty story is like, I played with one of my favorite creators, and it turns out he's a fucking cheater.
I mean, no spoilers. There's some jokes like that. There's some jokes like that in the story.
Too predictable, Tony. Too predictable.
Yeah, God, what can you do?
Heroes.
They cut the deck. I don't know what you want from me.
Well, when the Sarah Ascendant slides out of your sleeve, you pick it up from your lap after they cut the deck.
That is how that be.
What did you jam during this time, Nick? Were you ripping games?
So I did the first cEDH game that Tony mentioned, and then I went and watched the Maro panel on the like top 20 worst mechanics of MTG history,
nice.
which was super interesting. I kind of just like sat there to just chill out for a bit, and ended up being like, I'll stay to watch this. It's pretty cool. Companion, number 18 on that list.
That should be number one.
Just to give you, so Bands With was number one. Can you explain Bands With?
Only because you explained it to us while we were in Vegas.
I don't think I could recount it, but yeah. Anyway, that was fun. And then after that, I jammed a game with Florian, Roth, and then I think her name was Maeve.
Maeve, yeah, our buddy Maeve.
She was playing Tasha, the Demir Planeswalker.
Yep.
I don't remember what Florian was playing. And then Roth was playing my Sirdan deck, and I was playing Baloth, Raised by Giants.
Nice. So you helped Roth like power down for this game, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. Which we kind of didn't need to, because like Roth and I got eliminated pretty quickly, and then we're just like, and then like I think Florian and Maeve played for another like hour after we walked away. Like that game kept going.
That makes sense. I saw them like 1v1ing.
Oh yeah,
long
that
time.
game went for a while.
What's going on over there? Because they were sitting like next to each other playing.
Yep. Yeah, that's why. It's because Roth and I got eliminated, and we're like, all right, well, bye. We just stay here for this. It was fun. And then I think I played some other casual games. I know I played a couple more cEDH games, because I definitely played with Is It Punk. I don't remember if that was Saturday or Sunday, but I played with Is It Punk with Animar, won twice, I think, with Animar.
Yeah,
Animar turns out good deck. Weird Harvest, good card. Turns out.
Well,
Pretty
we'll
good
see.
game. Won me the game. So
When your opponents aren't on creature combos.
Yeah, or creature interaction that they can do.
So after that, Tony and I ripped one last cEDH game. We weren't really sure like what we were going to do, and we were like, well, we got time. Our buddy Kyle from That's a Good Card podcast was there.
Yo, I gotta shout out. That's a Good Card podcast has tokens that I have been desperately in need of.
Oh yeah, for tracking
like a
floating
long
mana.
ass time. It's like a card cut in 6 pieces, with each quadrant being a color of mana, one being colorless, and the other 5.
Sextant.
I have already been using.
Heptant?
Hept would be 7.
Isn't? I thought
Yeah.
Sept was 7.
No.
I don't know.
Hextant?
Hex is 6.
Hexagon. Yeah.
Hextant?
But one of them might be the other thing.
I don't know. Anyway, there's 6
Anywho,
sextants.
Does not
It's
matter.
clutch. I've already been using it. It's
Matter's a great
I love
deal.
It's so important to me now.
Sextant.
It's
important
wonderful.
to me now.
It is.
It's
It
precious
has
to me.
already had mana floated on it to win with Sisei. So it is my favorite token.
I'm sorry, Sam. Were you saying that I was right? Was that what I was hearing?
Yeah, I was checking online, and it seems like maybe it's Sextant.
What's Hept?
Hept is 7.
No, that's Sept.
No.
Hept
What?
is 7.
Get fucked, my
Hept
God.
or Sept. Wow, we're learning a lot today.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, we jammed a game with Kyle.
So we jammed a game with Kyle from That's a Good Card podcast, me, Tony, and Andrew. And man, that game was so fucking scuffed. That game was brutal. So I was on Marath, Tony's on Ob, obviously. Andrew's on Balin, and Kyle was playing his Corvold list.
Lance Corvold.
And we're just like shooting the shit. Like it's very laid back, right? Tony casts an early Ob, and Kyle is like, man, I should have cracked my fetch before you, like in response to the Ob. And it had moved on to Andrew's turn. And we were like, yeah, probably, like whatever. It's just a little bit scuffed. So he cracks it. And Andrew is like, I have a response. and he plays fucking
Aven Mind Sensor.
he plays Aven Mind Sensor, and he plays Archivist of Ogma. So he stops the tutoring and he gets a card draw. And that just like knocked Kyle out for the whole fucking game. Like he barely ever
a good portion of it.
recovered.
It gets back to my turn. This is turn 3, and I'm presenting a win. And then like from there, Ob gets removed, but my win is on the board because there's an Agatha Soul Cauldron out and a Ballista in my yard. And like, I'm just waiting. So it got into this weird Staxy game where we didn't want me to cast Ob again, right? Because then I would win. But then like Andrew just accrued a shit ton of value.
He was getting so much value. Because like I got a really early Marath and Nightshade Peddler, which is how I dealt with Tony's Ob. I was like, I'll just fucking kill it. And then when it went back to Tony's turn, Tony's like, well, like I have the win on board, but I'm not going to recast Ob because Sam will just kill it immediately. And I'm like, yes, I will. And then it goes to Andrew's turn, and Andrew is like, well, I could just fucking run roughshod because I'm not winning. I'm just accumulating value. And he's just playing all these little creatures and accumulating a fuck ton of value. And I can't deal with any of them because I'm the only person that can stop the Ob. So, and then Kyle is just, unfortunately, just out of the game. So it was just
He's
like this
F6
constant
for
thing
sure.
where I couldn't establish my board because I needed to hold mana up. Tony couldn't establish his board because he couldn't get Ob out and couldn't get his value engine online. Kyle was out of the game because he was just fucked up with lands. And Andrew had nobody stopping him and was just going nuts.
It got to a point where we allowed 2 Orcish Bowmasters to
Literally
survive for a good amount of time just to start to try and deal with Andrew's board.
Yeah. I was like tutoring into the Aven Mind Sensor just to make the Archivist of Ogma trigger so that we could ping things with the other 2 Bowmasters that were on the table. It was just the stupidest game.
Yeah,
and
gross.
And at that point they were kicking us out and we were like, it's over.
So Kyle did it. He put
a draw.
He put a tie on the stack.
Yeah, he was like, should we draw? And we were like, let's draw. So
Let's draw.
we did
Nice.
have 1 draw this weekend.
I did love how he did it though. He's like, I'm putting a draw on the stack. Who's with me? And I was like, this is great. I've never heard somebody say that, and it was amazing. And like, it was a good time.
So after that, we get kicked out, and then we part ways. I go off on my own little adventure, and you guys go on yours. I'll hit mine real quick. Basically, we had this like ticket to a Dragon Shield mixer, and we had one ticket. And our buddy Alan was like, nah, that'll get all 5 of you in. And we were like, will it? Will it though? Are we going to like drive all the way over there and then be like kind of turned away? We just didn't know what the vibe was. So we were like, let's divide and conquer. One person should go over because we have it. And, you know, because business boys, right? Like someone should be a business boy tonight. And let's part ways. So I went over with like Ian and Lua and Kyle and Tori and Steve and Florian came as well. It was super fun. We got there very late. Like the mixer had already been going on, but it got to like chat with the Dragon Shield guys. There were a bunch of other creators there, like Quest for the Jank Lord. The Play to Win guys were there. It was a really good time. And then we ended up hitting up a bar and like getting a bunch of Mexican food. And the Dragon Shield folks were super generous and just kept buying us drinks all night. And we like played another incredibly scuffed game of cEDH where Tyler from Play to Win just fucking smashed our teeth in with Kinnan while the rest of us just misplayed into eternity.
Nice. Well done.
And then I took off, and I had been with Andrew that night. So I took off, and Andrew and I ended up meeting you guys back at the Airbnb. That's a very quick summary of a long evening. But
that is a very quick summary. Yeah.
It is.
But those are the highlights.
The flip side to that is Korean barbecue.
Well, yeah, don't forget the Uber rides.
Super weird Uber rides.
Yeah.
Super weird
Not
Uber
even
rides.
describable weird Uber rides, but like some of the weirdest I've ever had.
It was
There
very
was
entertaining.
one funny story from that first driver, though, who was like, you know, it came up that we were playing like Magic.
We were
over
here
the
for
weekend.
Magic,
He was like, I used to be that guy that would on the playground would like go to the younger kids and try and get their better cards and give them like terrible stuff. And we're all in, you know, in his car like, damn, dude, that's kind of dark. And then he was
That's
like, yeah, but karma got me because when I went home to try and get that binder, my mom had gotten rid of it already. We're like, yeah, all right, cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It was very
Karma,
entertaining.
I guess. It seems like you've learned, maybe.
He was legitimately a cool dude, but it was a very entertaining ride.
Yeah.
And then then we got to Don's Korean barbecue. I forget the name of it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
A
like,
Korean barbecue place with a bunch of prospectors.
yeah.
Yeah.
Props
Props to
to
Sire Speedy.
Sire Speedy, like literally set this all up, organized it, ordered all the food for us, grilled all the food for us, and basically like served us. It was amazing.
Like baby
Not
birded
basically,
it into the mouths.
Basically,
He
like
basically
very
baby
close to
birded.
that. And like it was amazing. And all credit to him and much appreciated because like we were just not in the headspace to be able to deal with
Yeah.
any
We were
of
like
that at that moment.
completely burnt out
fucking
from
awesome.
2 days of combat.
Yeah.
Meat
It
just
was
kept
really,
coming. He
really
kept
great.
grilling it. He kept putting it on my plate. I baby birded Mike once or twice. Like I would take it from my plate and pass it to him. like I don't know what that counts as when you double baby bird, but like
12 of us, I think. 12
I think
patrons.
nine.
there's a
I think
good
nine people there.
9. It was a good crew. We had
It was a great group.
That was a lot of fun. We all smelled like Korean barbecue after because the place had like zero ventilation and
Yeah.
super
You could
smoky.
see the
you walk
the
in and you can
barbecue
see
fog.
the barbecue. Yeah.
And then we took another really shitty Uber ride back because the Uber driver had a Tesla, and it was the 3 of us driving back to the
Is it a
Airbnb.
Tesla? I thought it was like a Honda
Yes.
Civic.
No, it was a Tesla. It was a Model
The
3.
size of a Honda Civic.
Yeah, it was very small.
It's a small car.
When he pulls up, I'm like trying to open the front passenger seat to be like, oh, can I get in so we're not like all squished together? And he's like, no, you have to sit in the back.
To clarify for the listener who may not know, we're all full-sized adult men.
And I'm more than that
Nick-
by a lot.
Nick is like
At
fucking
least times
6'2".
another 25%.
And like-
And Nick's like you're like 6'5", right, Nick?
6'5". Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. I'm like, literally, like, can we, like, we're like 3 large dudes. Can we, like, he's like, no, you have to sit in the back.
like,
I'm like,
3 in the
okay. Like, well,
Three in the
they're like squeeze in the back. I'm like, can you at least slide the freaking seat
Yeah.
forward so I can like get my knees in the freaking car?
And that's when he has the oh
He
shit
does.
moment of
And then he
you
like,
guys
yeah. So we
are
like are all like
big.
in the car, like, you know,
Crammed
like
in.
literally crammed in as tight as it
Like
could be.
rolling away.
Looks in the mirror in the back. He's like, oh, you guys are big guys. And he's like,
Oh
do
my
you want to
God.
sit in the front? Like, your ship has sailed, bud. Like, you're fucking dealing with this shit.
Get us
Like,
there. Just
fuck
get
you,
us there.
dude. What the fuck?
Hashtag
I
one
was pissed.
star.
I was very pissed. Yeah, I gave him 1 star and no tip. And that's like
Yeah.
one of the only times I've ever done that. And I regret nothing. He deserved it. I was not happy.
Yeah. So we get back. we decided to not record an episode that night, which had been initially on the docket, and instead play a cEDH game.
Yeah, so we played a cEDH game.
Or a casual game.
No, it was a casual game.
It was a casual game. I think we played a cEDH
Played
game
some
the night
Zimone.
before.
Yeah.
We played a casual game, and when it's been a big day and it's the end of the night, people be talking.
Yap Fest.
I think the amount of times I was like, whose turn is it? Are we playing game actions? Was like 30 times because everyone's just like, let's jibber jabber about fucking anything. I'm like, I need to play cards right now.
Yeah, you were in the mic mode of it's like, I need the sling
Put
card
spells
board.
on the stack.
I caught the mic disease. I was like, I need to put spells.
It's highly contagious. You got to watch out.
Yeah, that was an interesting game. I think Mike just accumulated insane
Was it an
value.
interesting game?
And Mike got an Ashaya early.
Yeah, on the new Zimone, which is super cool.
Fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, he was playing the
Value.
fucking pre-con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what was
Nice.
happening.
And stomping
And
us.
somehow stomping us. Yeah.
Crushed Tony, crushed Nick.
I didn't even put up a fight. I never drew 3 lands, I don't think.
Yeah, Tony was land fucked the whole time. He kept a really bad hand for some reason.
Yeah, definitely not because Sam told me to keep it.
I mean, I didn't know it was a one lander. You were like, I just need to get one more land. And I was like, that'll probably be fine. And then you played a single land. And on turn 2, you're like, well, time to start discarding. It's like, that's not a keepable hand. I
It
thought
really
you had
was,
like
though, because
2
as soon-
lands and needed a third, not
As
just
soon
one.
as I got to the second land, everything was golden. But I did need that
Yeah,
second
you lost
one.
by that point.
Yeah.
And then I just crushed Mike with the bird deck. I was
Bunch
like,
of flyers.
that's a pretty cool list, but can you handle
30 damage in the air?
Yeah.
No, I cannot. I have one reach blocker, and you have used a removal spell on it.
Yeah. So Sunday was the last day at the con, and we were pooped. I think I can say for all of us, we were feeling like The Walking Dead that day. I was just a zombie. So
Were you Rick, fearless leader?
yeah, I felt like Rick Grimes.
I was more of a Daryl mode at that point, I think.
We sit down and play a casual game. Like, we've got a little bit of time. We have all of our bags. And, so we're a little bit slow moving, not really wanting to explore the con floor too much. We end up jamming some games with some patrons. Mike, Nick, and I played an awesome game with Type Null, our patron, where Nick played Mogus, hit us with a Yokel Hops. Exactly. Like, at the start, he was like, this deck usually wins with
Yoko Hops.
Because Amy Amazonian came by and we were just talking about it. And you were like,
She was like
this
watching.
deck wins
She's
with
like,
Yoko
what are
Hops.
you
She's like,
doing?
that's pretty fucked up. And then, and then it was my turn. I was on Abdel. It was my turn going into Nick's turn. And Mike turns to me and he's like, I think Nick's about to do it for Yokel Hops. Or you were like, Nick has the perfect Yokel Hop mana. And I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be fine. And my turn, Nick's like, end step Vampire Tutor, find Yokel Hops, cast Yokel Hops. So we were like, fuck.
Yeah, because I had like Mogus, Painful Quandary, and what was the one where it's like whenever time a creature
Tainted Ether.
Anytime a creature enters, sacrifice a land or sacrifice the creature.
Ugh. Which, when your deck is based around a land entering and making a creature,
Or
not so
around
good.
flickering, or when you're playing a flicker deck.
Yeah.
It was perfect. It was beautiful.
So we were like ready to scoop, and Type Null's like, nah, let's play it out.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
And
about that.
fucking Type Null, the fucking absolute G, dude. He just cobbled together a win somehow. He had like a couple sagas on board, and one of them was the one that makes the Smaug token. And when the Smaug token dies, you make 14 fucking treasures. So, Smaug comes into play and immediately dies because of Tainted Ether. And he's like, well, I got 14 treasures now. And he just starts like ripping through stuff. And it was so funny because he kept walking into the Tainted Ether triggers and being like, oh yeah, fuck. Like, he played like an Orcish Bowmaster. And he was like, all right, well, I'll sack the Orc token. And we were like, they actually both have to sack. And he's like, fuck. But plays Orcish Bowmaster for 1 damage on Nick. He gets Sauron out. Attack, and this is over a couple turns. Plays the Orcish Bowmaster, pings Nick for 1. Orcish Bowmaster dies. Attacks him with Sauron, brings him to 3. And then we all remember, this mechanic that we do not like, and we do not really know the rules of it, the tempt mechanic. Because he had been fully tempted, and whenever a fully tempted ring bearer creature hits an opponent, all opponents lose 3 life. and it was Xaxis to kill Nick. So playing the Orcish Bowmaster into that effect, like literally saved us and won him the game. And then Mike and I just scooped out of
Yeah, we're
out
like,
of respect.
that's good enough.
Yeah,
All
we're
we
like,
needed
you
was
win.
for Mogus to die. We're good.
That was
here.
great. Yeah, that was the one Mogus game I played this whole weekend.
It was good.
Yeah, it was fun. And then after that, I just interviewed a bunch of people. Tony, you were jamming some games though.
I did. I jammed some games with Flood, Green Bean, who let me buy his foil future sight Cabal Ritual that is fucking hot.
Nice.
That's a shout out to him. And my boy Beat did jack shit. Sorry, Boo. I knew you wanted to do more, but
Hashtag respect the feud.
Dude, sometimes that happens, man. That happens. You wait for those games. You're like, can't wait to play a game with this person I really like, and then the Panlaza player fucking pub stomps all through.
Yeah. So I definitely won one of those games. Like, Bean had put down a fucking Tree of Perdition and hit me with it. So I went to 13.
Nice.
And then I was able to come back because we all were like, yo, fuck that shit. But the best part was he put one down and I had a Mirage Mirror out. And I was like, you know what's great? Fucking Mirage Mirror. And I copied it and used a Tree of Perdition as well. It was fucking awesome.
Nice.
Oh, that's great, dude.
I gotta say, I love flinging things. I love borderless things. And man, Flood has got this fucking deck that is gorgeous. And I'll leave it at that. Like, holy shit. I got to play it and I was just looking at cards. I don't think I was even casting spells. I was just looking at spells in my hand. I was like, this is fucking great. It's fucking awesome.
For me, after that morning game, I headed on over to the Clash of the Creators event on the main stage, or as was being called, the Mana stage.
The main
Got his moment in the sun.
The Mana stage. It was super fun. I was really appreciative of Amy, who was my team captain, stopping over to say hello. Like we got to catch up with her in advance, which is super fun. She's a really cool streamer. Does a lot of like brawl content, a lot of arena content, just generally fun to watch and very good at the game as well, which is always fun to be around people that are good at Magic. Always a fan of that.
It's a nice change from your usual pod.
Yeah. So it was a game show, sort of, a la Family Feud. I think I may be in trouble if I use exactly those words, but here we are.
A familial duel of some kind.
Yeah, some sort of duel of the families. So my team was me and Amy, the captain, Ash Lizzle, Niall, Joan Rivers, and Tappy Toe Claws. It was a stacked team.
It was.
Tappy Toe Claws did keep discussing early behind stage that she had never lost in one of these, and she had done 2 so far. Spoiler. It didn't go so well for us. we got demolished.
You guys got brutally and shamefully demolished.
Yeah, completely demolished. We did get a bit stuffed. We'll get into it. But basically, so the other team had Voxy as captain, CGB, which is the reason that Amy had chosen one of us to come on her team. She wanted someone that was going to get CGB riled up.
Break CGB's heart,
Yeah. maybe make him, hold back a little bit, withhold. He did not withhold. GB Dark Pact Cosplay, Anna Margaret, and Joey from EDH Rec and EDH Rec Cast. So it was a cool group of creators, which was really fun for me. I got to just kind of like chat with people behind stage for a little while we were getting ready. We went up, we did our bestest to secure some Family Feud points, some Duel of the Family points. It was fun because I do feel like we had some of the moments that are classic moments from that game show. Like,
oh yeah.
One of the things is like, you're trying to guess the top answers. The other team on the like buzzer thing had guessed the second answer, and I was able to guess the first answer, which means like we get the first crack at like trying to win those points.
Well, that's the one you guys got robbed on though, because you got everything in the round.
Robbed a couple times
for one random question. I wish I could remember what it was.
So that question we did get robbed. It was most like places you have played the most games of Magic. One of the options was my kitchen table. So we had sort of assumed that kind of scratched the box for like
all kitchen
playing
tables
at homes, playing in homes. And the answer that ended up being the last one that we couldn't get was my friend's house.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, that's still kitchen
But
table.
literally, there was like 6 people that said it or something. It was like a very low number on the thing. Like,
yes.
when it got passed, we're like, there's no way that the other team gets this and steals all the points. And they're absolutely the game away. And that was the moment in which things went downhill for the team.
That was, that was
literally the other team got like almost all their points just by stealing your team's points.
Exactly. Like, you guys did all of the heavy lifting.
To the point where on the last one, I was like, gosh, should we just give this to them to do and try and take the steal?
Yeah.
And we did not do that.
I feel like you always play. I don't know.
You always play.
There
I think
is
it's
some
more fun.
strategy to Family Feud, but like I feel like you always play.
Yeah, I think you always play too.
Some of those categories, though, were particularly, there was a lot of just no guesses or like wrong guesses in a row.
That last one,
like the Planeswalker
one
ones,
thing
stuff like
got
that.
one question was right. It was
Well, I was gonna say the other classic moment that happened is someone hitting the buzzer before the question is read.
Oh,
Tabby like hit the buzzer. It was name a legendary creature, and she buzzed.
She was like, "Greco."
It was great. It was great. Yeah, it was that would eat the most at an all-you-can-eat buffet.
And like nobody got those. There was like two answers that were guessed. And then when they went through, it was a lot of, usually like most Family Feuds, there's a lot of like, oh yeah, where once it comes up, you're like, yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah,
but
I guess so.
There were some that were like totally random. And like, how did 7 people say that same thing?
Yeah. So then I got to just hang out, like we lost halfway through basically, and I got to just hang out backstage for the next half of it and like chat it up with the team and watch the rest of it go on. Niall was showing me this really cool format that she had created called Kate's Cage Match. It's based off of the Kate from the Fallout set, but basically like you start with Kate in play and there's a shared deck and all of the stuff has like Convoke or like Madness. Like it's all just like weird ways that you can get creatures into play, but like you have no mana. There's no mana involved in the game and you don't need mana because none of the cards use, like they all have mana costs, but they don't need mana in order to do stuff, or like flashback, tap, untapped white creature you control. Like there's all these ways to make it happen. So seems super cool. I was like, okay, well, have you heard of Pai Gao? And she was like, yeah, it's my favorite. I was so upset when they switched to the play boosters because then there's only the 14 cards. And I was like, well, have I got a format for you? So I was like, we had this
Take
one like
those and put them in a pile.
So super cool. And then really fun to chat with Tappy and Amy as well. I think they have a shared podcast coming out about fan fiction.
They do
coming out that sounds absolutely hilarious and just completely unhinged. I think it's going to be called Open Tabs. So it's not out yet, but keep an eye out for it. That sounds funny. I didn't get to catch up with Ash Lizzle very much, but she seems cool. She was very nice to me, so I appreciated it. Yeah, it was funny for me because I was like kind of nervous in the morning. And then once I was on stage, I was like, you know what? This is less intimidating than our live episode.
Dude, it was really fun to watch. Like it was very cool. We were cheering like crazy. We were saying Mike, 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 Mike as often as we could. I don't know if you could hear it. And then when I was screaming like, good answer, whenever someone said something. So it was pretty
definitely a good time.
dope.
It was a really fun thing to be involved with.
I had Mike's partner on FaceTime on my phone.
Oh,
for
yeah.
like a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
Just like
So good.
She appreciated greatly.
she and I had like commentary back and forth, so it was great.
so
Like
cute.
she obviously had no sound on her phone, but I would say things and then she would text me. It was like a whole thing. It was
That's great.
So after that, I had to like run because my art panel was happening, which was sort of like the last thing that I was able to do this afternoon.
I think I saw you casually walk. I didn't see you run.
Well, I was only
Canter.
capable of walking at that point. I was so fucking gassed out, which is actually funny. So I met up with the other artists. Again, this is this thing I did that was called like Doodle for Laughs, where it was kind of like a Pictionary memory game where we basically had a panel of like magic artists, not like card artists, but we all like do doodles. We We all make tokens, different things like that. It was put on by my friend David, who goes by My Hands Are Blank. And it also had Grem of Grem Corp. If people know Grem, they do these awesome like doodle responses all the time on Twitter. Like someone will say something and like literally 5 seconds later, like a little doodle will appear, like kind of illustrating what they were just saying. Our buddy Jacob Paris was there. Megan from Infinitokens was there. Radley, aka Space Balerin, was there. And then Haley was there as well. So there were 7 of us, and we had all these like custom tokens that we made and like these tokens to draw on. It started where we had like parameters for this, but we would take suggestions from people in the audience for legendary creatures in Magic. They would say it, and then we would have 60 seconds to draw it from memory. They would give like a very brief description, but it was pretty brief. Like when we were doing our practice rounds, like we had practiced online and stuff. And when we were doing those rounds, we wanted the description to be like enough where if you really didn't know what the character was, you could kind of get there. That started to like drop off halfway through with this stuff. So we had planned for like 5 rounds and thought maybe we'd get through 4. And we ended up doing 9, which was insane. So our first 4 rounds had like some strict parameters, like a commander in the top 100 cards on EDH Rec, a legendary creature from the last year of sets, a desparked planeswalker, and then towards the end, it was just any legendary creature. One of our patrons suggested Richard Garfield, PhD, the card, so we had to draw that. Like, I think we had a Krenko in there. We just had a bunch of like really crazy stuff. So that was insanely fun. Had a really awesome response, and people loved it. And we were giving out the tokens. So after we drew these tokens, we gave them to people, and then they would come up at the end and like get them signed and stuff, which was really, really cool. In every round, we had somebody doodling on a playmat, and then somebody got to like take that playmat home that was just covered in all of our like really, really weird doodles. It was funny because some people were going for laughs. Like usually I was going for something that was going to make somebody laugh. Some people were going more for like accuracy. Some people were doing like really cutesy things. So we all kind of had our moment to shine in the different rounds. And it was just fantastic. It was really, really well run. It was a good way to end the day for sure.
One thing that I did forget about that I did want to mention is during our prospector meetup where we were playing games, part of the sign up that we did was I had people sign a playmat. Yeah. And I definitely want to do that from now until forever. And so if you are a prospector and you find us at a convention, most likely it'll be a designated time for this. But chances are I will want you to sign a playmat. So shout outs to everybody that signed it because it's like awesome. And it just feels like such a fun like takeaway for us from this event to just be like, oh, these are all the prospectors who like showed up and jammed and like, you know, hung out, all the things. And it was fucking great.
Yeah, dude, that was a really cool idea. I think that was a great thing. I think like my big regret with the convention was that I didn't take enough pictures. I think we were really good about that at Chicago. And I wish that I had just taken a picture with every single prospector that came up and just had like a massive collage that I could throw up on the internet.
That would have been neat.
So I want to try to do that at the next convention that we go to. Just like make a point to be like, oh, you listen to the show? Let's take a selfie together, you know? Because that's fun.
I'm gonna take
I just think shout out to
sick, dude. Fucking nice.
Sick reference, yeah.
Sick reference, dude.
Oh my God. I was messaging with Fox and we did take a picture like at the live show. So that effectively was like our picture with everybody. But he messaged me and he's like, sorry if I missed the picture again, because like if you guys took one, like I missed it. And I was like, oh,
we missed it.
yeah. I was like, in this moment, I realized that we missed it. But effectively the live show.
Because in Chicago, we took a big group photo with everybody. I mean, it was the live show photo.
The live show.
The live show photo.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's tough to beat that.
Yeah.
And then we took Sleepy Boy Red Eyes and had unhinged, exhausted conversation in the airport about cEDH brewing for like, you know, a good 3 hours waiting for our flight to show up.
Yeah. I split off and had my own adventure again. I hung out with my sister and got some conveyor belt sushi and actually I got some conveyor belt sushi and actually found like a fucking sick One Piece card shop in Vegas. And holy shit, it had like the greatest collection of One Piece cards I've ever seen. So I bought the new Whitebeard deck that like I didn't even think was out yet, and they had it and they were like, you can only buy one. I was like, that's all I need, dude. So that was really sick. And then I will say, like, just shout out to our patron Flying Ninja Squirrel. We were in the airport all super sleepy, ready to go home. I was like, I'm going to hit the bathroom. And I saw, like, as I was going through the airport when we were leaving, I just kept seeing people like with magic bags, you know, with like Planeswalker symbols on like a shirt or something. And every single time I did, I was just like, hey, you have a great time at the convention? You know, just kind of like chit-chatted a little bit. So I saw these two guys playing just like 1v1 Magic. So when I came back out of the bathroom, I passed by and I was like, you guys had fun at the convention? And one of them stops me and he's like, dude, we had a great time. Also, your live show is amazing. Also, I fucking love your show. Also, I can't believe that you're talking to me right now in the airport. And I was like, oh, really? And we just chatted for like 15 minutes, man. And it was fucking sick as hell. It was so cool. It was very surreal. And it was like a really nice way to just cap off the weekend. It was super, super cool. So shout out Flying Ninja Squirrel. You're fucking dope. It was great chatting with you and your buddy. And that's that, man.
Well,
Fucking end of the convention. Amazing.
The convention.
fucking Catalina wine mixer.
Hope to do more. Yeah, fucking Catalina wine mixer. Definitely hope to do more live shows in the future. Like I said, would love to take more photos with people in the future, have people sign playmats more. That's another thing. I wish I took a photo of all the cards I signed. Like whenever a really funny card came through that we signed, I wish I took a photo of it. Because like there are a bunch of like blingy Howling Minds that we signed, or, you know, like Atreyu had to sign his commander because it got everyone fucking salty. I wish I had like a picture of that card, a bunch of that stuff. I think that would be really, really cool to have. So, hey, like with all Magic conventions, if we are able to be creators at future Magic conventions, we're going to be incredibly vocal about it. And you will have a lot of notice knowing that we will be there. And hopefully we can do more live shows, definitely going to do more meetups and just meet prospectors and jam games. So we would love to see you there, wherever it may be. Chicago is in February, and we're going to try to go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We both said it, but like it was a very surreal, awesome weekend. So like major shout out to every person that we met and chatted with, because
Literally.
it really was fucking crazy. Like it was insane, and I'm pretty dumbfounded and shocked.
Yeah. The magic was seriously gathered.
It was.
Yeah.
It fucking was, dude.
It's incredibly surreal to like, you know, I don't know, like make a little show and then have people be like, yo, it's my favorite show. It's like, what? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy, man. It's cool. It's really cool.
There were so many times where it was like, oh, I listened to this in the truck. And it was like, that was a common theme. It was like,
favorite.
I have to drive a lot, and this is what I do to keep me sane.
Dude,
Like,
yeah.
all right.
You guys keep me awake. Glad we're not sleepy for you.
Yeah.
How I don't know.
I love that. I love that so much, because that like is, again, I'm like a podcast junkie, and that like is it.
Yeah.
Like when I used to fill Excel spreadsheets at my old job, or just like look over historical maps for like 10 hours, I'd be like, time to crush 10 hours of podcasts. Like this, here we go. I'm like sampling a groundwater well out in the field. I'd be like, well, there's nothing for my ears and brain to do but listen to podcasts.
I would, strongly suggest anyone, if there's a MagicCon coming to your area, or, if you're able to, put together funds to make it to one that's not in your area, whatever it is, it's a really good time. If you're on the fence, if it's something you've been thinking about for a little while, definitely, give it another thought and consider trying to make your way to one. They're a really good time.
Yeah. And like in particular, when there's a reasonably strong presence of prospectors. I have been to conventions prior to this, and it is like super daunting to like just chat with random people to like make it like the prospectors show up, and like it's great. Like there's just a group of people that, because you have this one thing in common, it just feels it gets so easy to just chat and throw down and play games and do things. And I think that happened with a lot of folks throughout the weekend. It happens for me. Like I'm just like, hey, there's fucking prospectors here. Let's fucking play games. Like this is great.
Yeah. It's a nice like home base to have at conventions where you're like, oh, I know a bunch of prospectors are hanging out with each other right now. I'm just gonna go chill and chat with them.
Yeah.
We had that experience at Chicago, and we had that experience at this convention, and I bet we're gonna have that experience at the next one. Like it's just, I mean, we say it all the time. Like I feel like we just have such an amazing community. And when we're all hanging in person, like the vibes are just great, and you get to like hang out. Oh man, and I gotta just say it. Shout out to everybody who gave us gifts. Like people gave us a lot of stuff. Like Renshai and Sire Speedy both were giving us full art Path to Exiles. LK gave us all beautiful Gyrudas with a little heart drawn on them. That is already in my Gyruda deck. Florian showered us with gifts. He gave me like an altered custom Howling Mine, and he also gave me a agave Guru of the Spores that's a big frog smoking like a mushroom bong. Like it's amazing. There's just so much cool stuff that people gave us, and I don't know, man. Like the love was felt. It was just really awesome. I'd be remiss if we didn't mention that.
Yeah,
shit.
for sure.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
Well,
That's the end of the episode. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everybody who is at the convention, of course. And we got to shout them out. Our Salt Packet Plus tier members. This week we have Thotimus Prime, Rothbox, Sire Speedy, Bobo Fett, Brimstone, Captain Cross, Elgo Fogel, Clearbrook, D. Beeson, Gilgamesh, Doug's dad, Bark Bark, Pez, Swankub, The Quiet One, and Vok. Thank you for all your support. And if you're looking for more Howling Saltmine content, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Howling Saltmine. We have our fantastic Discord community, which is growing larger and larger every day. Right now, we're doing our holiday deck exchange. If you missed the boat on that, see you next year. The list is massive this year. There's over 70 people doing it, which is crazy.
yeah, it's wild.
We've got our bonus content on there, whether it's our extra salt or our stray grains that we're putting up there. Stray grains have slowed down a little bit. I will just say, honestly, we've just become like kind of more efficient at recording episodes and haven't had as many tangents these days. They're still going to come out as those tangents come up, but just figured I'd mention that. I've noticed we have had an uptick in our recording efficiency, and I'm like, less stray grains. Interesting. But we got such a massive backlog of bonus content on there. Jump in, check it out, jump in the community. If you want to be in the heart of the Howling Salt Mine, if you want to be around while we coordinate hangouts, coordinate for future conventions, we're doing it live with the prospectors in the Discord. We're already talking about Chicago, so jump on in. Another way that you can support the show is to send us your salty stories, which is what we typically read on this show. Send that to our Gmail, which is thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com, or submit it on our website, which is thehowlingsaltmine.com or howlingsaltmine.com. Both are going to get you there. We have a lovely form on there that you can fill out to send us your salt. Another way to support the show is to check out our merchandise, whether you're getting our shirts from Bonfire, our playmats from Jankmats, or our custom Dragon Shield sleeves from our own website. There's a lot of different ways to support and show off your Howling Saltmine pride. So do it. Another way to support the show is to give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app of choice, whether that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, or you can follow us on YouTube, where most of our episodes exist. You can check out most of those episodes, and it's actually been really fun. As new episodes have been going up, people who aren't patrons have a space to, we usually talk about episodes in the Discord as they go live and have like big conversations about them, about the salty stories. YouTube is kind of becoming like a new space where people can do that if they're not in the Discord. They can comment a little bit, chat about the stories, and we can respond. So if you want that kind of like back and forth, YouTube's a great place for that. But be nice to us.
I was going to say, or they can hate it.
And I delete those comments. I read them, I shed a tear, and I delete them. Delete them off the face of the earth.
Can you do that?
Yes.
Sick.
Bot abuse.
Lastly, we got to shout him out. Our buddy Devin Burnett for giving us our beautiful podcast art. If you're ever in Asheville, North Carolina, hit him up and get a tattoo because he's a really cool guy.
10,000 subscribers are bust.
Indeed.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I gotta like have it explode out of
Sum it up. Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, thanks for joining us, Nick.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks to everybody. We love you out there. And as always, stay salty and don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Saltmine. The Howling Saltmine.
Did you guys have any particularly memorable ones?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Let me finish eating this Reese cup. I thought you were about to tell us about your games, Mike. So I was like, time to eat a Reese cup.
I mean, I'll fucking do it.
This is my moment. New Englanderness coming through.
Shout him.
Shout him out.
Right up there with Tony's chimichanga.
Chimichanga.
Changa.
Let's shout out
Give me
the
that
mag.
chimichanga.
Give me a mog and a chimichanga.
Need a mog and a chimichanga. It's
My
funny
guy.
because the mog you replace with a vowel that's closer to what we'd expect in the chimichanga.
Chimichanga, yeah.
Chimichanga.
Chimichanga. And as always, what do I usually
Don't
say?
forget
Jeez.
to draw an additional card.
And as always,
Don't forget to say what we say.
and as always, stay salty.
Approximately
And don't forget
200
to draw-
times.
Motherfucker, I'm trying to do it right now.
You need bloopers. We were too on point. There
How
weren't
is
going to be any
100?
bloopers.
How is 126 approximately 200 times?
Tony's rounding up
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
cool
Somebody
way.
gets
Yeah.
it. Somebody
Yeah.
fucking gets it.